Like a Turing machine, it has an input, a purpose. It has an algorithm, which is how it works, and then it has an output. And I'll walk you through all three of these areas. One, the input is really its purpose. What is the purpose of the Amazon Innovation Machine? It's obsession. Obsession about what? Well, very specifically, it's obsession about customers. And you might say, well, of course, everybody wants to obsess about customers. That's what your job is. That's what you do. But so often enterprises, particularly commercial enterprises, become distracted by obsessing over competition. They obsess over what their competitors are doing. Are they ahead of us? Are they keeping up with us? Or should we be trying to follow what they're doing? And part of the problem is, part of the challenge for any enterprise, particularly a commercial enterprise, is that at least the media, and maybe some other groups, want you to focus on your competition. They want to know how you're doing. Are you keeping up? Are you staying ahead? What are they doing? What are you doing? At Amazon, we're aware of our competitors. We're aware of it. But we don't obsess over competitors, we obsess over customers. Well, what's the easiest manifestation of customer obsession at Amazon? I think perhaps it is the working backwards process. And let me explain how this goes. If we have an idea today, we have an idea about a new product or service we want to provide to our customers sometime in the future. Maybe it's months, usually it's years from now. Today, we will sit down and write the press release announcing that new product or service. The press release that will be sent out months or years from now. Today, we'll write it. Well, what does that do for you? Well, by writing down the press release, it holds you accountable. If you have an idea today about a product or service you want to make available to customers sometime in the future, the distant future, months or years from now, by writing it down, it keeps you committed to it. I mean, how many times have we been in a meeting, decided to do something, and everybody walks out, and maybe 2 weeks later you say, well, it turns out that that's kind of hard. Let's do something else. We didn't really mean what we decided in that meeting, or does somebody not remember what we decided? No, you've written it down. This is a commitment to do something for your customers. Okay. What else does it do for you? Second, you've written it as a press release. That means you've written it in customer language. What's in it for her? It's the what. Here's what we're going to provide to our customers. What product or service? By writing a press release, you're not talking about the how and all the things that need to be invented behind the scenes, all the different technologies that need to be created. You're not talking about that. You're talking about what's in it for her. And then lastly, by writing a press release today for a product or service that won't be released until years from now, what you're doing is admitting that what you want to do today is impossible today. Otherwise, you'd write the press release today and send it out in the morning or send it out next week. No, you're writing a press release today for sending it out years from now. What you're saying is we can't do it today. We need to figure out a way to invent, to innovate ourselves to that point where we can offer that product or service. It's actually quite liberating. Well, a few years ago, I participated in the writing of a particular press release in this style at Amazon. It had to do with Amazon Prime Air. I don't know if you've heard of this, but this is our future package delivery service by drone. It's pretty cool. I mean, it involves autonomous flying drones. What could be cooler than that? It has propeller design is one of the issues we're facing. Battery life, range, navigation, all the intelligence that needs to go into sense and avoid technology and sensor fusion. How does a drone decide what to do when it reaches a landing point? Does it make a delivery? Does it decide not to make a delivery because it's not safe? Customers don't care about all that stuff. Yeah, sure, it's going to be interesting, the first few drone deliveries you get. That'll be cool. Then after a while, I'll tell you what the core of the press release that I helped draft was. Delivery to a customer within 30 minutes of an order. That's it. Delivery to a customer within 30 minutes of an order. That's what we wrote, and now we're waiting years to get to the point where we actually launched this service, but the core of it was something very, very simple. What's in it for the customer? It's delivery of an order within 30 minutes. Pretty cool. Well, that whole idea of customer obsession and working backwards has worked pretty well for Amazon over the years. But that's the purpose. That's the input. That's why we have this invention machine. What's really interesting, however, is the core of the machine, the algorithm on which it runs. How does it work inside? Well, the core of the algorithm is innovation. You might say, okay, innovation, that's kind of cool. It's in everywhere, right? You see it in advertising today. Everything is innovative. Every company is an innovative company. Every new product is an innovation. Okay, maybe that's good. I think that's a good thing. But here's the thing about innovation that is particularly difficult, which is core to the algorithm of innovation at Amazon, and that is a willingness to fail. Failure is part of innovation. It's a necessary part of innovation. It is impossible to innovate without the possibility of failure. Think about that for a second. Every time you do something truly new, or you experiment with something that hasn't been done before, failure must be a possibility. Because if you know exactly how it's going to turn out, it's really not an experiment. It's not an innovation. It's not something new. And so failure is accepted at Amazon. But we go one step beyond. It's not only accepted, it's expected. Or at least it's expected that you try to get your own ideas, your own inventions to fail. So we have a phrase within Amazon, how we're all evaluated within the company, and it's called "our right a lot." Our right a lot. Well, of course you want to be right. Nobody wants to be wrong. But the point is this, that you have to be right a lot, which means that you can be wrong. In fact, you can be wrong a lot in the context of innovation. You can fail a lot, and you're expected to try to disconfirm your beliefs. Now think about this. This is actually verbiage inside of Amazon, how we evaluate ourselves. We actually must work to disconfirm our own beliefs. This is a very active way of trying to overcome confirmation bias. But in practice, what it means is that if you have a new idea for a new product or service, again, that you want to offer to a customer sometime in the future, you actually have to personally try to make that idea fail. Repeatedly, try to make it fail. And if you fail to make it fail, well, then you can have some confidence that this might be actually a good idea. It doesn't guarantee it, but at least you've tried to make it fail before it ever reaches customers. Now, Amazon has had its share of failures over the years. In fact, Jeff talks about he personally is responsible for billions of dollars of failure. Clearly, the company has failed billions of dollars worth. But the vast majority of the time, those failures have not been public, simply because we don't want to impose failures on our customers. That's the worst. One example where that did happen is the phone. About 5 years ago, we had a mobile phone. But I don't know if anybody ever remembers this, but it was not a commercial success, let's say. We ended up taking a financial write-down of something like $170 million. But that financial failure wasn't the real failure. That's not what really hurt us inside. What hurt us inside was we thought we had developed a really cool device, and it did have some very cool features. And those cool features live on today in some of our other products, like the Echo line of devices. But the cool features of the phone weren't enough to convince our customers, and it was a failure. But the reason why it was painful to us Amazonians was because it was a failure that got out to customers. Failures at Amazon, we want to make them fast, but we also want to make them without having them go out to customers. The Fire Phone was an example where it went out to customers, and that's what hurt us most. We're not embarrassed about the failure itself. That wasn't the problem. It was rather that the phone got out to customers, and that hurt us. But this innovation idea at Amazon doesn't happen in some corner somewhere. I don't know if you know the term skunk works, but the idea is that some companies, some enterprises have special places within the enterprise that do all the innovation. That's where all the big, very smart people, big brain people are, and they all go off and innovate. The rest of the company implements. Well, that's not true at Amazon. Amazon has now, whatever it is, something like 600,000 employees. With every single one of us is required at some level to be innovative, to invent, to simplify, to do things like that on behalf of our customers. And so there are different kinds of innovations, for sure, that occur throughout the company, but every one of us is expected to be innovative. Every one of us is expected to experiment. Every one of us is expected to try things and fail. It's okay if we fail. That's part of the innovation at Amazon. Well, in addition to that innovation focus, the one which says that we really want to try new things, we want to experiment, we don't get to feel badly about things that don't work out so long as they don't get out to customers. But this is a hard thing to accept. No one wants to be a failure to your colleague or to your boss or whatever, but you're not considered as a person to be a failure if you make failures within Amazon in the context of innovation. Again, trying to do something new and different for customers. Okay, so we've talked about the input, which is that purpose, focused, obsessed on customers. Then the algorithm, which is innovation based on willingness to experiment and fail. And lastly, what is the output of the invention machine at Amazon? Well, that output is, well, it's fairly simple. It's delivering results. It's getting something out to customers, because all the obsessing over customers, plus all the innovation on their behalf, doesn't matter at all to actual customers if we don't deliver a result to them. Now, those results over the years, hopefully you've heard of some of them. Some of them are pretty cool. But a lot of them were really big bets. We didn't know how they were going to turn out before we tried them. One of them is our cloud computing business, Amazon Web Services. Nobody, and it was mentioned that I started something, I came to Amazon in late 99, early 2000. I can tell you that nobody in the early 2000s was clamoring for cloud computing. No one was saying, Amazon, please devise a cloud computing business, because we want to buy compute as a service. We don't want to pay for hardware anymore. No, nobody was doing that. We thought of it, and we thought, well, maybe customers would really like this. This is something that had been a challenge internally to Amazon. We had witnessed this in a few of our enterprise customers, where they didn't really want to do the heavy lifting of buying hardware, paying developers to work on it, etc. So we thought, why don't we make computing available as a service? And we launched it. It was a big risk. We didn't know how it was going to turn out. Fortunately, it did turn out, and our customers do like it, which of course is the measure of whether something turned out. Customers like it. But it was a big bet. Now, how do we at Amazon get away with taking such big bets? Well, there's a simple reason, and one that you can apply as well, which is you can take big bets if you do it all the time. And how does that work? I would compare it to sport. If the Bulgarian national football team plays a match against 5-year-old boys, and both sides play their hardest and they play a full regulation match, what's the final score going to be? Well, it's going to be something like 75-0, maybe it's 100-0, something like that. It's going to be an absolute blowout. You've got the Bulgarian national team and these 5-year-old boys. The Bulgarian national team gets out of this one win. The score could be 75-0, but they only get one win out of that sport. Business is not like that. Business has no upper cap on success. And so, a win can be a win. A win can be worth 10 wins. A win can be 10,000 wins. So the reason why big bets can be taken at Amazon is because we're always doing it. And every so often, we'll get that 10,000 win bet. And with those 10,000 win bets, there may only be a few of them, they pay for a lot of bets that didn't pay off. Now, the mistake a lot of enterprises make is to be successful at something, to have a great patent, a great service, a great product. They've been writing this patent or service for years, maybe even decades. And then something happens after 2, 3, 4 decades. They've been doing a great job. Their customers are happy, they're making money, everything's good. Suddenly something changes. An external change, the environment changes, a competitor comes along with a different way of doing things, and all of a sudden, the enterprise must innovate. We got to find something quick to replace what we've been doing for 3 decades. Well, that might work. You might luck out and find something to replace that great product or service that you've been riding for decades, but most likely no. Most likely you won't. Remember, most of these innovations don't work out, and certainly working out on the scale of an entire company is unlikely. So, the idea is this: you don't wait to the last minute. Start innovating today. Take the big bets continually over time, and a few of those big payoffs will take care of a lot of losses along the way. That's Amazon's innovation, and that's the invention machine at Amazon. There are many others that are out there, I'm sure, others that could be tried, others that already are working. It just simply is Amazon's, and I'd welcome you to borrow it. Thank you very much.